Once upon a time, there was a group of adventurers that lost a party member. They had 10 days to find a diamond that could serve to raise their friend from the dead. So they went to town and asked their allies where could they get such a stone. The warrior went first to a tavern, asked around, where can we find a stone worthy of raising our friend? An old retired adventurer told them, once I encountered a dragon in the highlands. His treasure hoard was filled with gold and gems. Surely the dragon has a diamond worthy of raising your friend. The party said, no, that sounds dangerous. Surely our DM will save us. Several days passed, and the rogue went to see a thieves' guild leader. Surely they will know where we could find such a stone. The guild leader told them, the emperor has a tiara made for his wife of beautiful stones, the centerpiece of which is a sparkling diamond. If you were to steal that tiara, surely that stone would serve to raise your friend. No, the party said. That sounds like a lot of trouble. We could get caught. Surely our dungeon master will save us. With time running short, the wizard went to see an enchanter he knew and asked the enchanter, oh, enchanter, where might we find a diamond with which to raise our friend? The enchanter said, in the plane of earth, rare gems are like cobblestones here. It is a perilous path, but surely there you could find a stone with which to raise your friend. The party said, no, that'll take a long time. Surely our DM will save us. 10 days came and went, and the time to raise their friend had passed. The friend arrived at the gates of Mount Celestia and said, DM, I thought you were kind and benevolent. Why didn't you save me? I sent you a dragon, an emperor, and a plane of earth. What more do you want from me? What they wanted was an easy answer, but good stories don't come from easy answers. I'm James, and today we're going to talk about a place where your party might source stones such as a diamond for 500 gold, a dragon's hoard. Many things in the fantasy world are not as scarce as their nature would indicate. Plate mail, for example, you can't just pull it off a smoking corpse and wear it. It wouldn't fit right. And blacksmiths don't just have suits of this stuff on hand. No one can afford it. It's a waste of time and metal. But modern Dungeons and Dragons and its contemporaries are closer to game than to simulation. So most of the time this gets hand-waved in the name of expediency and fun. Raised Dead and Resurrection materials, purchasable on a corner store though, that's kind of taking it to another level. A little too accessible to me. We can control that though. We can make the diamonds of that quality scarce. It's not a matter of just having the gold. These things are simply not widely available. But there are creatures who are so old and so covetous and powerful enough to have collected such things. Dragons being one of them. So we can put our diamonds in their hoards for our players to go and collect. But the party that is seeking such a stone presumably is already down a party member, and it's kind of rude to send them in to fight an ancient red dragon where they might lose another party member while trying to resurrect the first. So instead of an all but guaranteed combat mission, we can use one of the other 5 dragons, those ones that don't get much screen time, the metallic dragons. I put an adventure down in the description. It's yours for free to download and use. Just, do us a favor and hit the sub button if you wouldn't mind. The lair should reflect the dragon's personality. There are details in the monster manual about where certain dragons lair, but what about the challenges? What makes a copper dragon different from a gold dragon? The monster manual tells us that they're a prankster, a joke teller, a riddler. So there's a genie here that's forced to listen to the dragon's admittedly bad jokes. Then there's a door riddle. Then there's a race through a maze with changing walls. And then finally the dragon. The genie is there to make sure that anyone that could not feasibly survive the trials of the maze doesn't get a chance to enter. It is a good aligned dragon, so the genie would fight to subdue rather than kill outright. The riddle on the door is there to make sure that anyone that does get past the genie is clever enough for the copper dragon to bother with. Plus, copper dragons like riddles, according to the lore. He could warn them then straight off about the dangers in the maze, but again, copper dragons like riddles and rhymes and puzzles, so he warns them with this kind of poem. Then there's the maze that they enter with the changing walls that makes it confusing and a puzzle, and he probably thinks of it as a bit of a prank.
It's not fair.
That's right. It's not fair.
As people get cut off, I would have the dragon maybe taunt them with bad puns, and I will spare you that. But I put them down in the description if you're looking for a couple rock maze related puns. They're there so the players don't like the dragon. My players don't like puns, so they'll groan when they're hearing them. Otherwise, the players might like the dragon too much, and they'll start to look at the dragon as a friend that they can look to solve every problem. I don't want him there for that. I want him there as a potential solution, but one that they go, ugh, really don't want to deal with him. You could put lethal challenges in a lair with a good dragon. The good dragon is aware that there are evil people in the world and that their loot, their hoard is valuable, not to mention their scales. And we can't have these adventurers always tramping in here and threatening to wear our scaly hide as some sort of armor if we don't cough up gems and treasure. Lots of YouTubers have covered tactics of dragons. I put my favorite down, the doobly-doo. But because most of the videos talk about the evil dragons and how to attack via combat, there's not a lot of discussion about the worldview and personality of a dragon, certainly not a good dragon. Worldview and personality to me are separate, and then I use them to figure out what the motivation is of whatever given creature. You can be selfish or selfless while also being an extrovert or an introvert. You can be humorous, upbeat funny, fatalistic funny, angry funny, and also be lawful. But alignment to me, like I said in this video, tells me how a monster is going to see any given situation or argument from their world perspective. What's important to them? For example, our copper dragon is chaotic. A Fekabor, or Affy as my players named him, just get used to it, they're going to do that to him, is hyper-focused on his individuality and his personal freedom. He isn't going to respond well if you try to appeal to authority or higher powers, mortal or divine. It's probably going to annoy him, if not anger him. He does believe in being a good host, giving food and drink and providing safety to a guest so long as that guest remains courteous. It's not a rule to him, it's a guideline.
The code is more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules.
And if he had to outline every rule to being a good host, he'd be annoyed. Why do you need to be told everything? Why can't you just do what's right? Bloody gold dragons. In one of the hooks that I put in the adventure, Kidnapped, the dragon disguises himself as a violinist, goes to town and perform, and that performance goes unappreciated. He's booed off stage in favor of a traveling fiddler, and the dragon flies into a rage and wrecks the tavern. In this case, the dragon took greater offense to not being shown proper courtesy and applauded as a performer than being overshadowed. If I was using the hook, I would put the minstrel in the lair of the dragon. They're now being forced to learn how to play a violin by a Fekabor. While enraged, they also can't stand to see talent wasted. Being a poor host might seem like a small thing to us, but keep in mind, according to myth, that's kind of what starts the Trojan War. You run off with somebody's significant other and you're staying in that person's house, kind of rude. A Fekabor is good. He does help people if he feels they're worthy, if they treat him with respect, or he sees this as like some greater wrong. If adventurers come to him and they make a case that they're righting wrongs, that this person who died because they were betrayed, they were standing up to tyrants or the law, a Fekabor is more likely to agree to the trade of a diamond. He still wouldn't just give it. It is his hoard. He's greedy and he is a dragon. So he's always going to demand a price for this kind of help. I think of a Fekabor as a diva and a know-it-all. He certainly has the charisma and intelligence to back that up. He wants celebrity, and he uses his understanding of people to get them to like them. He doesn't want friends, he wants fans. He may use that celebrity to inspire good acts, and he may still be charitable, but he doesn't really see people as equals, and why should he? Stat-wise and life length-wise, humans, dwarves, elves, goblins, all these things are just animals to dragons. On the evil side of a dragon, that's just food. At best, they're herd animals. On the good side, they're more like pets. There's a range from a pet with a job, like a sheepdog. They're there to help you, and it's a beneficial partnership, but they're kind of employees. In the best case scenario, they're family members. You love them, you care for them, and you feed them. You're broken when something happens to them, but they don't get to go wherever they want even then. Certainly not my beagles. If I let them off the leash, they'll chase after a smell into the woods, and I'll never see them again. Some coyote will snap them up. They can't be trusted with that kind of freedom. And to a dragon, neither can humans. To our copper dragons, humans are somewhere in the middle. Aw, look at this thing. Tiny little human. Isn't it cute? Oh, it's peeing. That's gross. She's not really peeing, but she's going back in my lap. Bargaining with the dragon should be difficult, otherwise anyone could do it. But if the players are respectful, if they take his jokes with good humor, maybe trade some in kind, if they can rise above being fans to becoming friends and prove they are worthy of his time, they may have a long-term ally who can advise and assist. He's likely to enjoy flattery at some point, after the diva line, but too much and you'll go back to that fan category instead of being seen as an equal. Offer Effecabor something precious and he may take it in trade, but he's still greedy, so he's unlikely to take 500 gold for a 500 gold diamond. He'd want something more valuable, a more valuable gem, a magic item, something that could help him pull off a prank, or maybe a fine piece of metalwork, especially if it is copper. If nothing can be arranged, favors are always in fashion. He wouldn't just give the diamond in advance of the favor. He'd insist on placing a geish on a member of the party in return for the diamond and assign a quest. Isn't that railroading? No, it's not. It's consequences. A character died, and presumably you gave them some choices about how to get a diamond, and they chose this path. And then you gave them some choices about what they could trade to the dragon, and they chose a quest. And now they've got one. Making deals like this is how you create a greater story out of thin air. One thing leads to another, and soon you're heroes or villains to the world because of a deal that you made 12 levels ago. That's it for this week. If you enjoyed the video, you know what to do with the buttons and the comments and the likes and all that stuff. In the next video, I'm not sure. I maybe want to talk about the running the maze from this and how to run a maze without it dragging on and becoming a slog and doing like square to square, or maybe doing voices, not full voice acting, but kind of just voices for characters, players doing voices for characters or not, and you and that kind of stuff. Maybe evil characters and how to run evil characters in your campaign without your adventuring group collapsing like a flan in a cupboard. I also want to jump into a major city at some point, flesh it out with factions and all that kind of stuff, and then world build a campaign from scratch. I don't know. I guess we'll see what I do. Until the next episode, Dungeon Masters, remember, you're a player too. Try to have some fun.